Welcome to part 2 of Bach on a jazz bass. Please hit the subscribe button and also the notification bell so you get notified whenever I upload new content in the Bach on a jazz bass series. Last time we ended up on the Fermata on the top D. We had some discussions about the harmony that Bach writes in, and also we had some discussions about how it differs to play this on the double bass from that of the cello. The cello is tuned in fifths, whereas we are normally tuned in fourths. And that presents some rather interesting challenges, fingering-wise, to perform this piece. We're going to see even more of these challenges towards the end of it. After the Fermata, Bach writes some scalar passages, some sequences, and it culminates in a series of pedals around the note A, which on the cello is the open top string. We don't have any open A in this register. This A is like several octaves down, but the A we are looking for is this one. We can find that as harmonics in two major places. One is on the fifth note of the D string, our normal tuning note, and the other, the exact same, is up an octave on the same string. We have to use those two harmonics to get the pedal point working on the bass, and it's challenging. So playing into the Fermata, you might notice that I'm playing a lot across the strings in thumb position, which is contrary to how double bass often is taught. The reason I'm doing this is it helps me keep the phrase going in one direction. You can of course do it playing on one string also, but all the shifts kind of make it more difficult to get the music out. So to do it from the G string, oops. So, I mean, it's a good exercise, and some may argue that it sounds more open, clearer. And on some instruments it does. It depends on your setup. And since I'm playing on my jazz bass, I have quite low action. I think it sounds quite well to play down the strings. But I do use an open D. Even the open G I'll use in that passage there. So it's sort of counterintuitive because you're going down in pitch, but you're jumping two strings up to hit the lower note, which feels a bit weird at first. And then towards the end of the scalar patterns, I choose to play the final D major scale on the D string entirely. And then follows a series of downward scales moving in sequence. And I try to like the rest of this piece, I try to not phrase this static. I try to phrase this dynamic. The general idea is kind of that it gravitates downward. It starts a bit slow and then it goes quicker downward. Here we are within this A pedal point challenge that we have. The first part of it, I'm playing with the pivoting from the A on the 5th note on the D string. So after the scales, I come out of it. I come out of the scales if I take from the A. The challenge here is to remember to play a harmonic and remember to not play harmonics when you're not supposed to play harmonics. You can end up, if you're not careful, you can end up sounding like this. You know, and all sorts of things like that. So you have to practice it quite a lot. I suggest practicing it slowly. Out of time, actually. I mean, don't worry about the time when you're practicing things like this, because this is like purely mechanical and you have to connect the brain to your fingers in a different kind of way than what we normally do when we play normal bass. So just take it slow, take it one note at a time and try to internalize how it feels physically. This is how I would practice it, and then eventually I'll try to notch the tempo up. After we have played the first couple of bars, we are climbing up the scale, and we then need to shift the harmonic to the other place that we found it. Up over the high A. Here. So we are coming from and here I will shift. And then we shift back down once we arrive below the octave harmonic on the G string. And after this A pedal passage, we shift to a D pedal with a chromatic ascending line all the way up to the top G, where the piece finally ends on a cadence back to G. The ascending line pedals the D, which is much more forgiving for us on the bass. We'll simply use the octave D with our thumb, and we play the chromatic scale upwards. We are playing and from here and out, I rewrite a little bit, so sorry Bach. Instead of going back and forth between the octave, my hands are small. I mean, yeah, they are small. My fingers are short. I cannot get all the way up to the G and keep my thumb there. It will be really a lot of this kind of movement, I can get to the D. I can almost do the E flat. That's how short my fingers are. So that brings us to the end of the prelude of the first suite in G major. Please join me next time for the Allemande, the second movement. And please hit the subscribe button and also the little notification bell. You'll get notified when I upload new episodes of Bach on a jazz bass. I'll see you in the Allemande.